Hey guys, it's Hawkeye. Most backpackers and hikers these days don't worry too much about land navigation because we tend to stay on the trails. But what do you do in the case of a trail closure or an emergency where you got to get a little creative with your navigation? Today we're going to talk about a few methods, so stick around, might just save your life. Today I'm going to talk about my top 3 skills that have kept me from getting lost off trail. They are terrain association, pace count, and sun position. Let's start with terrain association. It's super important to be able to read a topographical map and understand all the features and what's going on in it, because as we all know, we're not usually hiking in a straight line on flat ground. Whether you're using one of these or one of these, the topographical map's going to be the same. So I'm going to give you a few hints and tips on how to figure out what these little lines and shades and contours, what they look like on the map, and show you how they appear in real life. Because when you're going, it can make a big difference on how you get from point A to point B and which route you decide to take. So here's a valley, for instance. You can see what it looks like on the map, and here's what it will look like to your human eye. Now here's a draw. Now here's a hill. Now here's a saddle. Here's a spur, and here's a ridge. Now if you're hiking and someone tells you to go through the valley, over the hill, towards the draw, and end up at the spur, you'll kind of know what they're talking about. Now I'm not going to teach a class on how to read a topographical map, but I'm urging you to research it yourself, take a look, and understand, because all these little lines and the ridges and the spurs and the hills and the passes, if you understand what it is on the map and you understand what it's going to be to hike or backpack over, it could save you a lot of time and save you a lot of energy. Google search terrain features, Google search how to read a topographical map. It will help you. The more you know, knowledge is power. Like I said, a topographical map's still going to appear on here. These GPSs, they're not like Google Maps where it says go 20 feet and then take a left. You're going to have to kind of know where you're going. So that leads me into pace count, which is essentially how many steps you take in 100 meters. Now it varies from person to person. Everyone's stride is different. So the best way to do it is to measure out 100 meters and count every time your left or right foot hits the ground. It will vary when you're going uphill because our stride seems to be smaller, and it will vary when we're at night because we tend to take smaller steps. But find 100 meters, measure it out, and find your pace count. Like I said, it's typically between 50 and 70. But if you can zero in your exact pace count, it can be a lifesaver in situations where you're trying to avoid a river crossing or a steep cliff, or maybe you're doing something like geocaching. So knowing your pace count is a valuable tool. Last but not least, I want to talk about sun position. And this one is probably as old as the ages, and it's simple, but it will never fail you. Think about it like this. You wake up in the morning and you start traveling south. The sun's going to be on your left side. The sun always rises in the east and sets in the west. So if you're hiking past noon, the sun's going to be on your right side now. The sun starts going down and you're going right into it, you're going west. Just knowing this and these cardinal directions and keeping these in the back of your head can help you get to where you're going and can keep you from getting lost. Now, what most people do when they think they're lost or they don't know where they're going is they immediately start to panic. Of course, this isn't what you want to do. The one thing you want to do is remain calm. If you're on a trail and you're not sure that you're still where you're supposed to be, or you think you might have got off the trail and you haven't seen a trailblaze in a while, best thing to do is to turn around and go back 50 meters. If you see a trailblaze, you're in good shape. Turn around and carry on. If you really think you're lost, pull out your map, find out your last known point. Associate the terrain with how far you've traveled and where you think you are. Looking out at these positions, you should be able to figure out a general idea of where you are and be able to find an intersection. The most useful tool in not getting lost is being able to identify where you're at. Because if you don't know where you are, how are you supposed to get to where you're going? Hope you learned something. Drop a comment or some tips below. And as always, you heard it here first.